Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Julian Fitzgerald. I'm the co-founder of Community Foundation and the executive director as well. My whole job is to help really anybody in this room, but mostly people who are sitting in these seats, understand the opportunities that exist within not just gaming, but digital entertainment, right? So, if you like Cxmmunity, if you like, any type of gamer, streamer, I want you to understand the business side of that entire industry and ecosystem. And so that's me, and we're going to talk more about that.
Hi everyone, I'm Katrina Green. I work at Xbox, and what I do with Xbox is I work with publishers and developers who make games. I help them bring their games to our platform, and I help them grow their business using Microsoft and Xbox products.
Sheesh, we got some dope people on this panel, y'all. Y'all ready to get into some of these questions? All right, so first question is, this is really what the students want to know. They want to know how someone can go from playing games at home to competing in major esports tournaments. So if anybody wants to take that one on how they can do that.
I'd love to jump in. So first off, just to give you guys a little bit of background, I'm glad that you're here. Just to give you the kind of introduction, Cxmmunity Media, CXM is hosting this great event called the Kickback. They also have another organization or entity called HBCU Esports. So to answer your question, we actually help HBCU students kind of answer this question on a weekly basis. So first off, who knows what an HBCU is? All right, dope. So everybody understands just the opportunities that exist really, 1 or 2 chapters, in advance from now. And so to answer your question about how you can go from gaming to more of a, if you will, developmental or career opportunity is just really look at the things that interest you most. Some people are really good at the game, but other individuals like more of the storytelling side. Some people like to draw or like to create. If you like to talk, look at those various elements because esports itself is really just a mix of a couple of different spaces: production, broadcast communication. You also have individuals who focus more on the IT side as well. And so even at the school level, if you're engaged in esports, or even if your neighborhood level, if you're engaged in gameplay, think about the things that you like to do, whether it's picking up more of the, hey, I know how to plug everything in, leave that up to me. That's a full-time job in the industry. That's called IT, and a little bit more you can get into more of like the streaming side. And so really look at those various areas and then dive in. Even if you are the gamer, start looking at ways to get better at the game itself. Treat it like a real, if you will, sport. If I'm getting, if I can get this many, kills or this many points, how many can I get the next time? But more importantly, start to look at how you build your brand and build yourself up from more of a, if you will, personality or kind of storytelling perspective as well. People want to know more about who you are, what you do, and there's a number of different ways to do that as well.
I love that. Personality is king. Does anybody else want to jump in?
No, I was just going to add to the point that he mentioned. He kind of compared it to a sport. It's no different if you want to be a good basketball player, you're in the gym shooting, If you want to be, excel at esports and gaming, you just got to put the work in. And honestly, it's a little bit easier because you can do it all from your sofa, your bed, you can be right at home. So just like anything in life, it's just the passion and the hard work that you put into it, period.
I want to add to that you guys have got to start to learn how to build community around what you do. Part of what the esports world is about bringing together teams, right? A lot of you guys who are playing video games are doing so by yourselves at home and maybe aren't playing team sports or with groups. So if you're going into esports, then this is something that you're going to have to share a little bit of the shine for, right? So that means not only getting good at the game, but also being a good collaborative player. This is the difference between maybe doing something at the Rucker in basketball versus being in the NBA, right? One person on a 3-man team is one thing, but playing in a full-blown sport arena means that you're going to have to learn how to share the ball. You're going to have to learn how to work with other people, learn how to navigate personalities, as well as being good with your game. Anybody here got a Twitch account? Right, so if you're actually going to get out there and start to share your work and start to share your play, then you're also going to have to build your brand, right? You're going to have to show and share and figure out how to share what you do and what you do well so that people can see it. And don't hide who you are, especially if you're going into the college or educational space. Sometimes your parents may tell you that playing video games is something that'll rot your brain and you kind of like, you don't want to put it down and like, okay, I'll put that down at the lower part of my resume. Let your freak flag fly. If you good, who's here good at World of Warcraft? Like, who's here is good at, right, exactly. You know, if you're good at your game, let that go. There's people out here who want to join you. There's opportunities out here that won't find you unless you identify yourself. So be prepared to put yourself on a semi-public stage so that people can see what you do, so that they'll know how to connect with you and funnel opportunities to you for that next step.
The next question, thank you. That was great. The next question is, everyone thinks that becoming a game developer or a program gamer, but what are some of the surprising jobs in the gaming industry that most people don't know about?
I'll speak to this one. So one thing that I love about the gaming industry is that the possibilities are endless as far as like career paths you can take and what you can do. For instance, just myself, like I have an accounting degree, y'all. Never thought that I would ever be working in gaming, but yet here I am, and I was able to make a pretty successful career, I think, in the industry. Okay. I have a coworker who has a philosophy degree, and now he works on some of the biggest marketing campaigns and marketing events that Xbox has ever had. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless. It's not about where you came from, it's about where you're going. So I would say some different careers that you can think of, like we even have people that just literally play games to test them, to make sure that when we launch them on our platform, they don't have bugs, they don't have glitches. We have people that work on localizing games to make sure that if you're making a game in Japan, someone in the US can have a great experience with it. The language will translate seamlessly. There's someone whose job it is to do that. If you're that friend that's always getting your group together to hang out, we have community events managers who like manage entire communities. When we're talking about esports, there are people that have to put together events like this. That could be a job that you can monetize as well. If you are into music production, you just like to make playlists and whatnot, every game has a soundtrack, every game needs composers, sound design and whatnot. Like literally, I'll stop there because I'm sure people will share more, but I just want you to know, like if there's a passion that you have, there is a career that you can have in gaming based on that passion.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I mean, actually coding is probably the least thing that actually happens with gaming, especially with so many of the tools. But if you're a graphic designer or animator, she mentioned music. I know some of y'all probably got a library of beats that you looking to do something with. Easily, pairing that with games. She mentioned testing. I happened to go down to Madden Studios, and they have a whole room where they just invite people in and they just play the game to test it out for them. Like that's kind of one of the best jobs ever. But then also too, once games are released or about to be released, there's a lot that happens from a marketing and promotion standpoint. When you see these games come out and you see they've collaborated with another brand to be able to do something, or even something that we did with Cxmmunity a couple years ago when the Space Jams movie came out from Warner Brothers, and there was an associated game with that. We did a competition with the HBCU students. The two top players got to fly out to LA for the premiere and walk the red carpet for Space Jams. But that entire thing was a whole, set of marketing and sponsorship and brand partnership people that worked on that, and none of those people ever touched coding in a day in their life. So there's just so many opportunities all around gaming.
And I actually love this question. Again, just within my work, I get a chance to learn more about the gaming industry. So one thing I actually do is compare it to other spaces that we understand innately, especially within our community, which is music, right? And so first thing, it's important to understand the difference between gaming and esports, right? So esports is a subset of the gaming industry, but esports is a $2 billion industry within inside the larger $200 billion industry, right? And so a couple of things I want you guys to go home and tell your parents. Gaming is bigger than music and film combined from a revenue perspective, right? And so let's think about it similar to music, though, as it relates to the artist and the producer. We all understand they make the art, whether they go independent or whether they go to the major label, right? They make the art. They can drop it on SoundCloud and YouTube independently, or they can go to the majors, get it distributed, get the big marketing budget like you mentioned as well. In the music world, live events are called what? Concerts, right? And so just understanding that, people say, okay, I get it. Gaming's the same thing. You have the game developer, the game designer, they create the art, right? The game designer can create anything from the sound effects down to the cover of the actual game, but they can go independent. Among Us is an independent game that got really big, right? Yeah. 3 people made Among Us, and think about how many people have played that since, right? And other games that are, if you will, to the majors, think about like a big game, Fortnite, that's owned by Epic Games, right? Just understanding more about the industry. But in the gaming world, there aren't concerts for live events. It's called esports. That's what live events is in gaming. It's esports, right? So just understanding even the hardware side, people make the actual consoles and controllers that you play on every day, as well as the software side. I had a young man who said, I'm really interested in being a software engineer. I don't want to be a game developer. I said, okay, solve a problem for gamers, and our problem is you'll have more fun, right? And there's a guy, or there's a team that created this thing called Discord, right, that we all know and love, but it's not an actual game, but they solved a problem for gamers. So think about the gaming industry similar to the music industry or other spaces that have, just think more of an ecosystem. You don't have to do the one job of creating the game. You know, you don't have to be an esports player. You could be someone who says, I'll create an app that solves a problem for communication. And I think the last thing I'll use is another example. A gentleman in LA created a company just for high school esports, just to organize gameplay. So he didn't create a game, he didn't even create, if you will, the esport, but he said, I'm going to organize this gameplay amongst high school across the country, and in 2 years had a $100 million valuation. Right? So just understanding that how to navigate the industry is the biggest opportunity anyone in this room could really take a hold of.
And if I could add one more thing, just to piggyback on, you know, he mentioned music, audio, but he also said sound effects. And I just wanted to tell y'all this. I really want you to expand your mind. I had the pleasure last week of going by 10 Turn Studios, who make Forza, the racing game. And I met the audio engineers, and their sole job is to fly around the world and capture audio from engines of various cars. And then also to get the realistic sound of crashing, they go out into the desert, and in Mojave Desert, and they're able to crash cars and just have mics that's capturing the sound. I mean, all the things that make games realistic, think about it, there's some job behind it, and there's a lot of opportunities for y'all.
I love that. Now I got to learn how to crash cars. So if you can add one class or one program to schools to help students enter the gaming industry, what would that be? Class.
I would add a course around like game development, but mixed with AI. And I say AI because that is the future. That is where we're going. So if we want all of y'all to be prepared to make a big impact in the industry in the future, we should be teaching y'all now how to use the tools. So I feel like the course would like have you learning game development, design, learning how to use AI applications to make your games better. You would have like real projects where you're developing a game with your classmates. So you're getting started on your portfolio while you're in school. Yeah, that's a course that I feel like that should be taught now. I don't know if it is. If it's out there, let me know.
I'd say business management, if you will, gaming business management, because, you know, 2 things are true in regards to creating a business. You're going to either innovate something new or create something more efficient, right? So understanding the businesses that exist within gaming, that's an opportunity for everyone to say, I think I could do that better, right? I think, honestly, it's for each one of us to always pursue things that pique our interest, right? So I say it like this, if you follow the things that interest you, you probably have a greater awareness about the thing, right? Whether it's anime, whether it's, you know, again, software engineering, legal, you know, legal or law practice, if you have a greater awareness around it, you more than likely have the ability to, if you will, add value to someone else's perspective, right? And so your ability to add value to that perspective, it leaves you with the opportunity to extract value, right? So that's really how business works. Even if you aren't the business owner, understanding what the overall purpose of, if you will, the interaction or the transaction is, gives you an opportunity to say, I think I can do that better, maybe as a job, or I think I can take over that whole process better as a business owner. So really, that would change really our understanding of even what we want to do based on how we see how the world works.
Yeah, a little similar, you know, and for some of y'all, this may not click in your head, but I really want you to think about it. Yes, we're talking about how you can get careers in gaming. But as young people nowadays, you really need to have an entrepreneurial mindset. Things are changing, you know what I mean? And how you can build yourself as your own brand, your own company, and things of that sort to have ownership. It's one thing to work somewhere, but it's also something different to own. So for me, I think it would be cool if there was a class that taught you, from the game studio down. So if you understand how a studio functions, who creates the game, who then has all of the jobs, you know what I mean? You start to actually learn the things that you want to do later in life. You actually can start to learn them a little bit earlier. And that will really change your mindset as you go in. Yes, your early career, you may start off as a job, but remember all the things that you were taught on if you were running your own studio. It will really accelerate just your whole career pathway if we can give that to kids at an early age.
When I was in higher ed, there was a program called High Skip. I don't know if it's still running. It's the high school internship program. You would go to a college as a junior or senior in high school, and you would take a college-level course at a participating university. And in a city like this, there's plenty of opportunities for that. I think that that program would be a great model where we actually get students to get into programs where there are esports teams, where there are gaming classes and courses that get you out of your school, out of your neighborhood, get you into these spaces where the people who are doing what it is you think you may want to do are actually at, right? That's what makes it real. Inside the classroom, we can learn all the theory, but I think for a lot of young people, making the direct connection comes from seeing people, especially people who look like you, doing that next step of activity or learning that you are actually interested in doing, and connecting and networking with those folks. It was an amazingly successful program, and it would require funding and maybe sponsors, universities waiving the tuition so that you guys could do it. But the key would be you would come back with your exposure to the application of the math course you don't like, and the application of the business class you might have been a little sleepy in, right? And that connection, that connective tissue is like, wait a minute, this thing I'm learning here in this class that I didn't think was that fun here at my school has a real application out here in this real world environment that I'm learning through this high skip program. So any opportunities you get to take courses perhaps at a community college or a university, do internships, externships, there's plenty of those. I think those are the most valuable opportunities you have, because it puts a different light on what you are going through right now to graduate in the course that you chart coming out of high school, going into college.
And I just want to add one more point about, I know we're talking about courses and classes and whatnot, but it doesn't need to be that deep. And I understand if there's like educators out here, it may be intimidating to think about starting a whole new course or class for your school, but there could be like little small steps that you can do, going back to like leveraging your schoolwork to help build your portfolio. Like if you have to write a report in your history class, you can write a report about the history of a game that you love or a game designer that you admire or something. Like leverage your schoolwork to help you build your portfolio so that when you're out of school and when you're ready to pursue a career, you already have something to show for it.
What she said, y'all.
Thank you. These are some gems right here. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the future. So do you think that VR, AR, and some of the other new technologies, I know you mentioned AI as well, are going to change the way that we play games forever?
I would say absolutely. Once again, as someone who works directly with publishers and developers who make games, I've found that a lot more of the publishers and developers that I'm working with have been partnering with companies such as like Meta to make new exciting games, even different variations of older games that have been very successful for them. I've seen a big uptick in that, and I can only see that continuing to grow in the future as the technology advances.
Yeah, I would say twofold. One, things like AI is really going to help to speed up the development of games, able to collaborate, just be able to create things a lot faster than before. So that's one. So hopefully we get to see more games, more frequently. But then, how is AI, actually, embedded into the games? How do you have those non-playable characters that now kind of come to life and things of that sort, and really change the experience so that, literally every time, how it is, you get to a certain level and it's the exact same and that guy's just standing there and he just never does anything. But imagine, every time that you're playing, you're almost getting a different experience. You know what I mean? It really will change how involved and engaged you can get with games.
You're absolutely right. There are a few games. I wish I could name the titles off the top, but they're, if you will, like the opponent or the enemy itself learns your play style throughout the game, right? So if you're, kind of like the hit and evade type, it's going to learn that and actually adjust in real time. So that's a whole nother piece.
I don't like that at all.
I know, right?
I want to win.
And then other titles, I think I just saw something on LinkedIn. Cyberpunk, just released again inside of VR, and they're like, it's a whole new thing, right? Because they still have that big budget to really turn it into something new. So absolutely, I think the technology is going to not only advance how we engage with games, how games are, if you will, developed, but then also how they're consumed. 100%.
And I'll also add that there's some work that we're doing even internally at Xbox, leveraging AI to help with game safety, like making sure that you feel safe, comfortable in the communities that you're in, leveraging the AI technology to weed out people that are harassing players, people that not necessarily in the game for the right reasons. AI is helping us do that as well.
Thank you. So this is the last question, you guys, and this one I think might be the most important. What advice would you give to young women or minority students looking to break into the gaming industry?
Let me jump in as well. So again, our organization, Cxmmunity Foundation, of course, partners with Cxmmunity Media on a number of different events. But let's first talk about community itself. If you look at the spelling somewhere around the room, you'll see the CX, right? And what does that mean? What does that stand for? And so one thing that we actually don't get a chance to do is share this often, but the X is the one button that's consistent across all buttons and controllers, right? So Xbox, PlayStation, PC, even in Nintendo, right? And so whether you're shooter game, racing game, whether you're black, white, whether you're boy, girl, indifferent, we want to make sure community itself, if you will, is that nexus for you to also be able to just, express yourself and also pursue your dreams. And so through that on a regular basis, to answer your question for, either a young lady or anyone who considers themselves a minority, it's really important to, like you shared as well, Hilton, is find your community, find other people who think like you, but then also I say it's still going to be important to articulate your goals, right? You being able to identify your goals, articulate your goals, and then use your specific experience as a part of your strength, right? Your experience is going to be something that other people can't necessarily relate or say that they lived through and through, but other people will be able to say they relate to, right? And so be bold about how you present yourself, but also, like Darrell said as well, start to build your brand in general. That's going to be important no matter who you are and, if you will, what demographic you come from. So it will be important to start with those things of understanding, still being able to pursue your goal, identifying your goals, finding your community, and being bold in your pursuits as well.
Yeah, a couple things, especially on the building the brand and portfolio. Nowadays, you gotta separate yourself from everyone. So just, hey, I'm finished college, I got a degree, but if you have a blank resume and a blank portfolio, you're no different than the next person. And when you're dealing with anything that involves tech, including gaming, there's no excuse that you can't get some experience on your own. If it's game development, you can build some game yourself, iterate on it, put it somewhere so someone can see it and just be able to at least have something to show. The other thing I want to say is get out of your head and thinking that, these game studios, these publishers, or, the console creators like us and Xbox don't want you all there just because you don't see a lot of you there now. The truth of the matter is all of these companies want more diverse talent in their buildings, but they may have trouble finding them. That's that's something that needs to be improved. But then also you got to do your part and go seek those things. Nobody's rolling up to Southwest DC and saying, hey, you want to go work at this game studio. You got to join those communities, like they said, and like literally communities, Discord. Just the different opportunities that are online, so that you can be really in tune for all of the internships that's happening and things of that sort, and really go after these positions.
I would say that everybody in this room, compared to everybody on the stage, is a advanced tech native, right? You guys don't understand technology in the same way we do because it's not technology to you. You were born into a world of touchscreen technology. You don't know a world without that. To us, that's an innovation. Like, oh, I remember clicking buttons, right? I remember phones were everywhere in the house. They had a cord, right? I remember having to hit the button 50 times if I wanted to send a text message. Those kind of things are tech to us. You have an advantage in these markets because all of this technology is moving faster than we can educate ourselves. We rely on you as the next generation to come in with that unique understanding of what the market and the emerging markets are going to want, right? Unfortunately, because you're tech native, sometimes you guys get into a mindset that this is something I love to do. This is something that is personal to me. And therefore, I want to separate it from my job or separate it from my career path because I don't want to sully my very deep personal experience with this art or with this technology that I love with making it something I do for work. Whereas this generation on the stage was raised to say, if you find something that you're good at, if you find something that you love and you can attach that to a career path, you'll never work another day in your life, right? That has been lost on a lot of you in your generation and all of you coming up. So it's really, really important for you guys to kind of open yourselves up to understand that the mission that you have is to take the skills, take the loves, take the talents that you have and apply them into the job market, apply them into your entrepreneurial business models. Don't feel like you have to separate those two things because, quite frankly, I think a lot of us, if not everybody on the stage, loves what we do. And we know people who go to work every day and do stuff they don't love to do. And this is a field that we get really enthusiastic about because we see so many of you going into these fields, falling in love with your creativity and everything that you would be able to do in these spaces. And that is why we want you guys to get involved. So don't hit the brakes. Don't say, don't let anybody doubt you or build any self-doubt in you. What you do and what you are building at your stage is really, really important.
Whew, that's a lot to follow up, y'all. I don't know if I don't know how much more I can add to that, but I am passionate about this topic, so I do have a few things. First and foremost, I do want to reiterate what Darrell said. It's really, like, you should really, your uniqueness, your diversity is your biggest asset, and it is desperately needed in this industry. Don't ever forget that. Know that you are needed, know that you are desired, know that you are in demand. Another thing that I will say is mentorship and allyship. Those are things that can really help propel you as well. Like, find someone that's willing to invest in you, willing to guide you throughout your journey, that is your mentor, and find people that do not look like you who are invested in bringing more people that look like you into the industry, that is your ally. I would not have been able to move over from finance and accounting into gaming, which is definitely a career that I love, if it wasn't for allies and mentors who are willing to take a chance on me, willing to guide me, and willing to really encourage me to be myself and have the courage to do what I love for a living. So I would say those two things. And then one other thing is, like, just remain consistent and resilient. It's not necessarily going to be easy to accomplish your dreams, to get into gaming, to have the careers that we have. But you'll find one thing that is consistent with us is that we always remain consistent. We always remain persistent. We had resilience, and whenever, like, a door closes or someone tells you no, just use that as motivation because you know what you can do. You know what you're capable of.
Well, real quick, I just want to make sure they get this point.
Trying to get me in trouble.
I know. They want you all there. And you want to know why? Because they're building the games for you. You're the consumers. That's who they're making these games for. And they can't make these games that you all like unless people like you all are on the other side actually in the building making them. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you guys so much. Put your hands together for this amazing panel. I hope you guys learned something. Awesome.